This is how you are going to grow your investments from 0 to 1 million in a short period of 4 to 5 years as a starter, a new person in employment, or you have started your small business. The reason for this video is that when you check on much of the content that you are going to get online, the advice is tailored to suit an individual who has already accumulated substantial amount of target investment, maybe in millions, and the advice is on how to allocate or spread that money across different assets, building different portfolios for different purposes. Another modern advice online will suit a child from a middle class family or that sort, in which case these individuals, upon attaining their first employment or their first job, they would be advised to remain in their parents' homes and use their salary or income to amass a portfolio that is able to pay them maybe 100,000 a month, 50,000 a month, or to take care of their financial baseline before they move out of their parents' home to start on their own. But we have another cadre of individuals who are not targeted by those two pieces of information, but they still deserve a decent life. They deserve passive incomes like any other person. And we are looking at an individual who has started employment, they have started their small business, and in pursuit of growing their investments to build target amounts for passive incomes, and in the knowledge that your passive income or the buildup, compounding, and your investment vehicle, no matter how good the return is, will start making good sense to you once you have built substantial momentum. And substantial momentum is about the amount of capital that you have already accumulated. Those small savings that you are making regularly, monthly, daily, weekly, they will grow to a sizable amount that, when subjected to the rate of return, at least we will have a point whereby the amounts of returns that you are generating from that investment are substantial enough to cover maybe 80% of what you are putting in a whole year. Welcome to our today's video, where we are combining the use of a Sacco and a collective investment scheme. We have used an example of a money market fund, but you can also use a fixed income fund, or better, a special fund. But the reason for this combination is that for this young person who has started off their employment or business, for them to attain the minimum amounts that you are required to have to join a special fund, which are merely wealth management funds, then they will take a lot of time to build up those minimum amounts. We are looking at taking advantage of that synergy that you get from a Sacco and a collective investment scheme to build that momentum faster, and we are looking at being able to build a minimum of 1 million in a short period of 4 to 5 years. We shall be looking at 7 important parameters regarding how Saccos work and how, as a small investor, you are going to work around those 7 important things in order to be able to hit your million investment by the 5th year. First million is so important because once you have hit the first million, your investment rate of growth speeds up and you are able to hit your target faster, because the returns after hitting their millionth mark will be somewhat more than what you were able to save on a monthly basis for a whole year. And that is the time we say that your money has started working harder than you. Remember of the principle in investing where we say that no money should be left idle. But as you active, make your money active through investments, you hit a point where your monies invested start working harder than you, and that is the beginning where you start noticing financial independence. Financial independence is achieved when you are able to rely on the incomes that are being generated by the assets. Attaining financial independence does not mean that you have hit the financial freedom mark. Financial freedom mark is a coveted point in your financial journey, which truly very few people hit that point of freedom. But we can enjoy financial independence where our assets generate incomes that are reliable enough or sufficient enough to cover all our needs. Welcome to today's video on combination of the synergy of a Sacco and a collective investment scheme to realize our financial independence. We shall continue after 3 seconds short break, and it's important for you to watch this video to the very end. In the meantime, give us a like to this video, and because it's important and this information suits many people, don't consume this information alone. Please share it to another person or group of people, and you will have assisted us in achieving the objective of the channel of sharing financial freedom to as many people as possible. See you after 3 seconds short break. Welcome back, and thank you for your like, your comment, and that share. The first point is appreciating how you join a Sacco. Joining a Sacco, you need to pay a registration fee that varies from 200 shillings to about 1,500. The highest I've seen is about 2,000. Once you have paid your registration fee, then there is a monthly amount that you are contributing towards your deposits. Some call them savings, but the proper name is deposits. Those amounts that you keep on accumulating on a monthly basis and you borrow against the total, or you can also guarantee other persons or members to access loans. Those are deposits. Then there is another amount that you pay on a monthly basis, the benevolent fund. Remember, SACCOs operate objectively to improve the socio-economic welfare of the members. The economic part is on the savings, deposits, and loans, on which case you're getting your dividends and interest rebates. Then on the social aspect, besides how money can improve your social aspect, there is the element of social welfare in SACCOs, and that is what is covered under the benevolent fund on and above the insurance on the member loans. Maybe we will cover about that social welfare and the benevolence in another video. Once you have put in those two amounts, you have already started off your journey as a member of the Sacco. Share capital can be put in slowly in small amounts of accumulation, and in some cases, it is recovered from your first loan. So if you don't want it to be recovered in full from a loan, you can also be putting small amounts to build up to the minimum amount of share capital that is required. That brings us to 4 payments where the registration fee is a one-off. Once you have paid the registration, you will never pay it again unless you withdraw from the Sacco and you want to come back. The monthly contributions is for the deposits and the benevolent funds. Share capital will have the option of either you build to the minimum amount slowly, you can put a lump sum of the minimum amount, or have it recovered in full from a loan. Most of the SACCOs, their minimum share capital ranges from 5,000 to 50,000. We have new SACCOs that are increasing it to 100,000, but the majority are in between 5,000 to 20,000 or 50,000. Now, once you have become a member and you are putting in your money, you must have an objective in mind. You have a goal in mind. There is nothing bad like saving or investing without a goal or a purpose. Our goal in this case, we want to optimize on OPM, using other people's money to leverage on investment. The Sacco has 7 important things that you need now to understand, so that because you can't take advantage of what you don't know. And the first thing, or number 1, is the waiting period. Once you join a Sacco, before you take your first loan, there is a waiting period of 6 months. In some Saccos, you get a shorter waiting period of 3 months to access very expensive loans because of the method in which the interest is calculated. Those loans that you are accessing after 3 months being a member in the Sacco, they are calculated, most of them are calculated on a straight line method. And what that means is whatever amount you have borrowed, the interest that is calculated must be paid in full even if you clear that loan the following month. The interest is not reduced based on the period that you have taken to clear the loan. After 6 months, you are able to access reducing balance loans. And in the reducing balance loans, the advantage is a lot of interest is saved when you clear that loan early. We are taking advantage, we are considering this waiting period on the principle that no money should be left idle by anybody who is looking forward to investing. In saving and investing, the principle of no money should lie idle is very important. And in this waiting period, or the period until you access your first loan, the amounts that you are putting in the Sacco beyond the minimum amount are equated to money that is staying idle. And you get to know the reason for that as we progress with the 7 important things. And that is the reason I'm telling you, you need to watch this video to the very end to be able to understand the entire concept of synergy of a Sacco and a collective investment scheme. Note the minimum contributions for every Sacco vary. There are Saccos that have a minimum amount of 1,000, there's 1,500, there's 2,000, there's 3,000. So these are things I'm telling you that you need to consider when you're looking for that Sacco to build this synergy. It is the minimum contributions that make you an active member. So if you wanted to build your deposits faster by increasing your deposits above the minimum amounts, the advice is this. For the Sacco, put in, during this waiting period, you are putting in only the minimum amounts. Let's take example of a person who wants to build the deposits by contributing 10,000 on a monthly basis. This is what would be my advice. If this Sacco has a minimum contribution of amount of 3,000, we shall be putting in the Sacco the 3,000 and whatever else need to go to the benevolent fund, let's assume 500. So we are putting 3,500 into the Sacco. Then on the other side, we have opened a money market fund, a fixed income fund. The reason for either of those two is that for fund managers operating those two fund products, they merely have the same features. And one of the important features that we are looking for here is non-locking and accessibility. So we are putting the extra amount, that is the 6,500 of the 10,000, because 3,500 has gone to the Sacco. This 6,500 we are putting in the money market funds. And preferably, we are going for one that compounds on a daily basis, because we want to take advantage of the compounding for our money to start generating interest, and that interest generating more interest, so that we are getting the money market fund to help us also build up the amount that we are investing in the money market fund. But remember our goal, we want to maximize the amount that we can borrow from the Sacco for investment. Point number 2 is deposit build-up. Part of it we have discussed. But on the deposit build-up, this is where we are getting to achieve the objective. We are planning to build our deposits to a certain figure in mind based on our ability. The total amount, we have considered putting the minimums in the Sacco to maintain our active membership. The extras we are building up in the money market fund. In the money market fund, we are looking for compounding our money, not to stay idle in the Sacco during the waiting period. The amount that we are putting, the minimum that we are putting in the Sacco is not idle. It is that amount that is giving us our active membership in the Sacco. So that money is not idle. This other amount is in the money market fund, not idle because it's generating money. So the two are serving purpose. Number 3 is a reiteration of that principle. Minimize idle savings on the principle that no money should be left idle. The money that you have, your income, that is ability to generate more income. That is your ability to build your wealth. Those are your soldiers. That money, you can send it out as soldiers to go to war into making more money for you. And that is a reiteration that makes sure that any extra amount that you want to save during the waiting period sits in the money market fund where it's making more money. And the extra money that is coming through interest and compounding is increasing the amounts that we shall bring back to the Sacco at the point of borrowing. Because number 4, Saccos operate deposit top-ups. A deposit top-up is a lump sum amount that you are allowed to deposit to add up to your current deposits within the Sacco to increase the eligible amount of loan that you can borrow. If we go back to our example in saving our minimum of 3,500, the 500 went to the benevolent fund. This 3,000 that we are saving or we are as deposit to borrow against, by the close of 12 months, if we are to wait for 12 months, we will have built deposits in the Sacco to 36,000. That is 3,000 a month multiplied by 12, which is giving us 36,000. And because we were working with a figure of 10,000, the 6,500 that we are building up in a money market fund, that amount after 1 year, this 12 months waiting period for us to make the first borrowing, out of this calculation, it will have grown to 89,239. I'm assuming a low return of 10% in that money market fund. We'll have 89,239. That is inclusive of the interest that we are generating from the money market fund. On number 4, on deposit top-ups, Saccos do allow you bring in such amounts, the 89,239, to add up to the 36,000 that is already in your savings account or in your deposits account to increase your eligibility. Eligibility measures the maximum amount of loan that you, the borrower, qualifies for when you multiply the total deposits in the account and the frequency, the number of times that particular loan product can be issued. We have loans that are issued 3 times the amount of deposits. That 3 times is what we are calling frequency. So when you multiply a frequency and the total deposits, that is the maximum eligible amount of loan. So the member, you'll be allowed to borrow any amount to that limit. So if you get the 36,000 and our 89,239, we are at a point of, if you take 89,000, leave the 239 in the money market fund, you're getting a total of 125,000. That 129,000 is now what we want to borrow against. And The purpose of this borrowing, so that now we build up the sense of synergy, we wanted to build momentum. We wanted to build the amounts that we need to be able to access a special fund. Special funds are wealth management tools, wealth management vehicles. And for that amount to qualify that word wealth, it requires substantial accumulation or an amount. These minimum amounts to access special funds in recent days, they have been reduced to the 100,000, 150,000, 500,000. Sometimes back, it used to be huge amounts. At least money market funds were accessible at a minimum of 1 million. Those accounts require 5 million and above. But today, in the essence of financial inclusivity, we have money market funds that are taking as low as 100 shillings and similar top-ups. We have special funds now taking to as low as 100,000, 150,000, 250,000, 500,000. And the most important thing here, we are looking at accessing through OPM substantial amounts that we can put in a special fund because it has a leveraged high return, some giving us in excess of 30%, but I want us to work with 25%. And using the 72 rule, which we use to determine how long it will take for your investment to double through compounding, at 25%, it should take about less than 4 years for the amount that you have put in that account to double. Here we have built, including the top-up and deposit total of 125,000, and therefore we are able to borrow 375,000. That is a loan that is repayable in 3 or 4 years. That is when we look at SACCOs. The deposit top-up is an essential element in SACCOs today, that SACCOs have loan products in which a member borrows to top up their deposits, and once the loan is processed, the amount that you took for deposit top up is deducted together with some interest. So to beat that extra cost in accessing such amount, that is the reason we are going for the money market fund. And let's bank on patience and build our own money without borrowing against another borrowing. And a perfect example, if you go through the brochures of Arambe Sacco, that is where that product is very pronounced. A tailored product in which a member would borrow to add to their current deposits. They will get a higher eligibility. Then the amount that you borrowed to top up the deposits is deducted with some interest. That is business to the Sacco, but as an investor, as a knowledgeable investor, you are the one who is supposed to study a product and look around it and how you can maximize on that product to build your wealth. And that's how financial literacy works. So in this event, we have taken our loan of 375. If you work out a loan of 13%, because that is the current rates in SACCOs, mostly it's between 12.5 to 14%. I've taken an average of 13% as the interest finance cost in accessing that loan. The total interest that will be charged on this loan for the period of 4 years will be 107,903, and that is out of this calculation. The same amount, if we invest it in a special fund at 25% for the same duration of time, we will generate a total return interest from this investment of 495,865. The rationality of that investment is now looking at the return that we will have gotten from investing in this special fund, our borrowed amount, and the total cost that we incurred in accessing that loan. Total cost in loans is the total interest that you are paying for that loan. So if you compare the 495,865 shillings that you have generated as interest from the special fund and the 107,903 shillings cost of interest that you are paying on the loan, you have already made extra 200% on return. And that is what is important. Sometimes for many people, starting off the investment journey is a huge hurdle to jump over. You need to tailor a solution that gives you that jump start, that gives you that momentum. Because looking at the total that you will have generated out of these investments, after investing the 375,000 in the special fund, we will build an investment total during this period of repaying the loan of 870,865. That is 870,865 shillings. That is close to $1 million. And that is a period of 3-4 years. Our target period was making $1 million in 5 years. One thing that is very important to note is that if you subject the total that you will have built in this investment of 878.65 to a mere return of 10% net of tax, you are getting a return of 87,086 in a year. Divide that amount by 12 months. This is a person who has already built a passive return of 7,257 per month. And that is where the journey begins, because the next thing I would advise such a person to look for is determine the financial baseline. What is the minimum amount that this individual would require to survive? Such that if the job was lost or if the business went down, the passive income that is being generated from these investments will be enough to live on. That is the financial baseline. And that is the very first thing that you need to work for towards in your investing. Passive incomes that are sufficient for your survival. Number 5 is arbitrage, which we have already done. The entire process that we have looked at, that is arbitraging. And arbitraging is the process of identifying affordable sources of capital and applying them in high yielding investments such that the cost of capital is lower than the return, or the return supersede the cost, thereby making profits in returns. A simple example is buying a product at a lower price in a market and selling it at a higher price in the next market. You have arbitraged. Arbitraging is that using a Sacco because of the affordable loans, investing them in high yielding vehicles to make a profit. Another form of arbitrage that is ignored by many people is on staff loans. Most employers give their staffs loans at reasonable costs. A loan of 8%, a loan at 5%, a loan at most 10%. Such loans, you can arbitrage them by investing in high yielding opportunities, thereby building huge returns that surpasses the cost. Number 6, don't destroy your ability. Most salaried individuals, and that is one of the rationales for making this video, new starters, immediately they get into employment, out of peer pressure, they get themselves into very bad loans that destroy their ability in their pay slips. Starters in small business getting themselves in dangerous consumer loans that destroy the business. Your income, whether it is from the salary or your business profits, that is your ability to build a tomorrow. That is your ability to build wealth. The moment you attach your payslip or your profits into bad debts, into misuse, you have already destroyed your ability to build your wealth. There's no other way you can build wealth. Your ability is tied into active incomes. Don't destroy your ability through attaching your payslip, attaching your profits into consumer debts or bad habits. And the reason we are talking about a starter here, we wanted to capture the mind of this starter before peer pressure brings in their input to the individual. And lastly, is make use of financial tools. Don't forget about the importance of a budget. Don't forget about the importance of cost trackers or expense trackers. They keep you in check. They keep you within a line in sight of your goals for a purpose. That was an extensive cover-up on the synergy that you get in using a Sacco and a collective investment scheme as a starter to jumpstart or give yourself a momentum in wealth creation. Thank you for watching and see you in our next video.